This is Movies, the only freestyle storytelling podcast starring two mystic juggalo weebs, and with me today is Hans. Hans, how are you doing tonight?
A little wet, a little
Nice. That's how I like you.
Miltoned, right? Who picks these names, by the way? Why do they give the hurricane a name of like a fat
Milton
black cook
Berle.
from a high school? Yeah.
Well, I think
feel
about
like
Milton
it's
Berle and how he exposed his big Jewish cock on the set of Saturday Night Live. That's what I think about.
I told everybody I ain't getting taken out by no bitch named Milton. So,
No, that's honestly probably the worst hurricane that could potentially kill you, in terms of name, anyway. That's very embarrassing to have that in your obituary.
yeah,
What was the other one? What was Helene or something? Like what? Who's picking these names? I
My
don't.
Chemical Romance picked that one.
that sounds kind of badass though. Helene is like the name of one of Saturn's moons, so that had kind of like an esoteric quality to it.
Mm.
Okay,
Launch
what
your
about
ass into
Milton?
space.
What part of where in space is Milton? Which constellation would Milton?
It's one of those
Milton
dwarf
be?
planets they don't teach in school anymore.
This has been dead for years, 100 years. Dead
Yeah.
planet.
Yeah. Well, in case those of you listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts can't tell from the voice, we have Kelby Losick back with us again, the host of the Agitator podcast. And we're going to be talking about two films tonight and also a book series. How about that? We haven't done that for a while. The last time I think we discussed a movie and a book was The Black Phone, which
Mhm.
we got into that a little bit on the last episode we recorded with Glenn Rockney because we were talking about Salem's Lot, and that's written by Stephen King. The Black Phone was done by Joe Hill, his son. But this episode is actually on a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and that is the works of one Irvine Welsh, and specifically his Trainspotting series. So, how did this episode idea come about? Did we come up with this while we were talking about Euphoria on the last show to jump from one drug themed media piece of media to the next, or was that something we came up with in the interim there?
I think behind the scenes we did some kind of talking. I don't remember how the subject of Irvine Welsh got brought up, but Irvine Welsh is like, I mean, he's like God to me. Like I got into writing because of Irvine Welsh and William S. Burroughs. Just seeing how they do shit and being like, oh, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You don't have to just tell a story. You can be like, you can do phonetics, and I took that in more of like an ebonic route than a Scots route. But it yeah, we were, maybe was it when I went thrifting, I like got a bunch of his books, and then
Yeah, I think I replied to a tweet of yours because I believe you had made a post about one of his pieces of work, and I replied to that, and then that branched off into why don't we just do a series on the adaptations of Irvine Welsh? Because there's quite a few now. There weren't so many, at least when I was reading his work regularly. It had been a while since I had picked up any one of his novels, and then last year, maybe it was last summer specifically, I found out, oh, they did a fourth Train Spotting book, which I have on the shelf right off camera here. And I started reading that and reading what he had done to the Begbie character. And then around the same time, I was also made aware that there was this crime procedural show based off his book, Crime. And I tried watching that, and that wasn't particularly well written. It was actually pretty bad. I don't know what it is with these British procedural, TV series where they have one detective and usually a black woman partner, and they're investigating a series of murders, and the criminal, his motive would never make sense in the real world.
Yeah.
It's always this sort of CSI criminal mind style plot that they are investigating and trying to unfurl. It's always a mess. So that was a
There's so
disappointment.
there's so many of those shows too. Like you don't know because like nobody talks about them and the audience stays there and it doesn't leave the UK. But living there, I was made aware of so many detective shows that is literally just, oh, a detective in a small town in England that just stay there and go on for like 5, 6 years. that yeah, they're just very unmemorable, and it's just well, it's in a small town in England, so that's all you need for to get a show over there.
Their version of Blue Bloods.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
it's on the same level of writing, at least,
Mhm.
as a show like that. And the telltale sign that I'll point out anytime you're dealing with a TV series or a movie, for that matter, where there's a murder being investigated, is when they find the murder victims, are their mouths opened or closed? And if their mouths are closed, usually the series or the movie is total shit because somebody doesn't know what they're doing. They didn't bother to do the research. That your jaw just relaxes when you die, so your mouth is probably going to be open. Okay, but they're all just,
Mm.
they look like mummies. They always, and that was the first telltale with crime in the first episode when they find the dead girl. I was like, okay, it already looks very flat. It looks like nobody cared at all about cinematography or just adding color. How about just adding a little color to this shot? And that's a problem with a lot of those British procedurals is they have this very washed out, bland look to them that is totally unremarkable. And it fell into every single pitfall that you could for that genre.
You know what does not have a washed out color palette or any kind of neglect towards cinematography is Danny Boyle's 1996 masterpiece Trainspotting.
That's exactly right. That is absolutely correct. And there's actually two different colorful versions of this movie. I'm curious to know which one you guys had watched in preparation for the show. The 1996 one has an emphasis of warm tones to it. It's a very warm film. And this Criterion remaster has, I won't say suffered, but it has suffered the same sort of treatment that many remasters Criterion deals with has culminated to, which is getting this very cool toned seafoam green style look to it. And so if you buy the 4K edition of Trainspotting in the Criterion collection, you're going to see something that is a bit more pale by comparison than what has been released and what is the popular version of Trainspotting for 25, 30 years.
I own the 1996 DVD, thankfully, so I get to watch like that, like as God intended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these 4K remasters are fucking killing that era, specifically the 90s, and it's like they start overcompensating with that seafoam green like palette that they add
Mm-hmm.
after what, like boosting the frame rate, whatever it is that
Yeah,
they do
if
to.
you put on Memories of Murder, for example, it looks like my camera right now. And that's not how I watched it. I remember it being much more neutral. You would have there wouldn't be this wash of green, like a light green to every single frame of the film.
I really hate that though. I hate all of these remasters because I feel like the movie should look like it was intended at the time. So if that's VHS, if that's DVD, then the quality should stay at that. Because whenever you try to improve that, and I say improve between quotes, because it's just using modern day technology that makes it look like a different movie. So then you don't get the same experience that you would get with the original one. So I hate all that shit. Like I'd rather just watch like a 720p copy from archive.org
Mhm.
than
Which is
have
dead
like a
right
four.
now. You have quite
Yeah.
the timing mentioning that. That is very unfortunate. I just found out I got pwned because I would upload stuff to archive.org. So that hasn't come back yet. I'm hoping that happens in the next couple of days so I can change my password and be safe again
Chuck
and
Yeah.
Wendig,
watch Snick.
the
I
the
miss watching
op
Snick.
Chuck Wendig,
Oh yeah,
fucking
well
ruined
he's
it for
he's
everybody.
really the ultimate villain in this situation, right? He was one of the people pioneering, oh, I don't like my books being uploaded to archive.org. His fucking what? His Star Wars novels or whatever the hell he writes.
Uh,
Garbage. But Irvine Welsh is a hell of a lot better as a writer. Certainly miles away from the decay that one Chuck Wendig would put out in his books. And Trainspotting, I read that. I think I read that in 2006 or 2007. I did watch the movie before I read the book. And I would say if there was one writer that inspired me to get involved in publishing and want to write novels, it was Stephen King. But if there was a second writer, it would be Irvine Welsh for many of the reasons that you cited of his distinct style of writing, bringing out the accents of the characters and just making it kind of inaccessible, and yet having such a massive hit with this book when it was published in, what was it, 1990, you said? Or
I believe Trainspotting was 1993, maybe. I'm
okay.
not positive on that. It was one of those not too long before the movie came out. What a time. Man, you just fucking put out a debut novel or whatever, and it's like, boom, this is a movie
It's
now.
not 93, yeah.
1993, that's right. And at what, the young age of 31 years old.
That's
Oh,
right. That's right. This fucking liar. That was the most interesting. I just came across that little factoid today. Uh, there's not a whole lot out there about Irvine. Well, he's still alive. And I
hmm.
mean,
I follow him on Twitter, and he goes on his occasional shit lib rants, but they're all from the UK lens of, oh yeah, Marine Le Pen is evil or something, but I hate censorship still. And it's just like, oh, all right.
he's got to be some kind of interesting. I'm sure his politics are at least interesting. I'd imagine they're coming from uh a more experienced place at least.
Hmm.
Just being that so many of his themes are like about a certain class of people with no statement to make other than these are these people. This is what it's like, which is probably the biggest influence on my shit that I took from him subconsciously. The reason I fucked with it and was just that he's like writing about lower class kind of scumbags with hearts of gold, and there's just nothing else to it. It's just this is life, and it
Hmm.
sucks, and it's funny, and here's all the scams that they get into.
Yeah, that's
Well,
one of
that's
my
just
favorite things about the book and the movie. And the movie doesn't, I don't know if they really get into it as much as they could have, but the scamming nature of these characters. Sorry to cut you off, Hans. Why don't you interject there? What were you going to say?
that's definitely the strongest part of the movie. I don't think for the first or second, there's not like a big story or a big anything that goes on, but everything is depending on how charismatic every character is and how much they have going on for themselves, even though not much happens in both movies, but they drive them, and I feel like that's something that in this show we talk about a lot, which is the flawed protagonist, which is a lot more interesting than a safe main character, and everyone here is kind of a piece of shit. Like everyone is not 100% evil, but they're all kind of shitty people just because of the type of life that they're going through, and that feels very real and very on Hollywood like, which I think is the strongest part of these two stories, I think.
Kelby, do you have a preference between Train Spotting the book and Train Spotting the movie?
So, Train Spotting the book was my gateway drug to Welsh's shit. So I hold it in high regard, and the book is phenomenal. But I think the movie is such a masterpiece that sort of felt the spirit of the book in that way that this is a story about who and where, not what and why. And Irvine Welsh's style is what carries the book. Danny Boyle's style is what carries the movie. I think the movie is just completely flawless. So I mean, they're both 10 to 10, but I'd probably say the movie. But out of everything, Porno the book sits on the top shelf for me.
Really? You prefer porno to either one of the book or movie of Train Spotting?
Yes.
Wow. I'm going to need you to explain that when we get to Train Spotting too. Because I liked the book Porno, to be clear. I wouldn't rank it above either of the originals here. But yeah, I mean,
What's the order there? Where does porno fit in if you put it in the movie context?
In the movie context, it would just be Trainspotting 2. It would be T2.
Oh, okay.
They borrow a little bit from porno, but then veer off and do something totally different, which I was a little disappointed by that, at least when I first heard about it, but then watching the movie, I found myself totally fine with that. But there are 4 Trainspotting books that Irvine Welsh wrote. The first was Trainspotting, the second was porno. Then he went and did a prequel called Skag Boys, which takes place before both of those books. And then the latest is Dead Man's Trousers, which I think was published in 2016 or 2017?
18.
2018, okay.
Hmm.
And there's also a spin-off featuring Francis Begbie, and he turns him into Dexter Morgan, essentially. He moves to Los Angeles to live with some new woman in his life, and he changes his voice and everything, and he becomes this...
Some fucking cunt. Oh, he's Californian.
He goes
now?
from
Is
that guy
me?
to a very cold, calculating sociopath artist, sensitive artist.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Irvine Welsh getting a little too bored with his characters, I think, and not just starting something new.
Kind of genius in knowing that like people really fuck with series. This is something that the Broken River chat we've been kind of going back and forth about our futures as independent bestsellers and that trajectory that we're on. Is I don't have any ideas for series, and then when I look at my idol, Irvine Welsh, I'm like, oh, you didn't have an idea for a series either. You just keep recycling characters with totally, completely different stories.
I mean, that seems to be that's how they used to do it back in the 20th century. You take a look at so many popular, who thought French Connection 2? That's a great idea. Why don't we do that? How about we do a TV show with the guy who plays Al Bundy, Ed O'Neill? He'll play Popeye Doyle now. You know, they would go, okay, this is successful. That's all we need. People know this character's name. Okay, that's it. We're going to just push it as far as we can push it and try and milk this thing for every single dollar. And then what winds up happening with a lot of that is when it's bad, people just forget. They just forget that stuff happened and they focus on the one good thing. Kind of harder to do that now.
Return to Salem slot, right? That's a great example.
They memory hold Return to Salem's Lot.
Yeah,
Lethal Weapon 3.
Yeah, Massey Lottery 2 in a couple of years. Where we
in a couple of years, I think it might be next month at this rate. I don't know. Plan A. I won't even get into it on the podcast. But yeah.
That poster, side note, that poster goes so fucking hard. The
one thank you, man.
Lottery with the fish heads.
Yeah, J. David Osborne also messaged me a fire emoji to that, so you guys are on the same page with that. So I'll tell you the origin of that poster real quick, which we have on sale right now at lowres.org. Hans, you want to pull it up? How about we pull it up? Let's get the sponsorship in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have plenty of apparel in the shop currently at lowres.org. The Wonder Bread World Tour t-shirt for movies. And with me today is Hans. The Forgotten Genres Crew t-shirt as well. And then next up is the Forgotten Genres Employees Only Golf Tourney. Yes, that's right there. It's all the same price. And then last but not least, the top-selling item so far has been the Everything is Ruined Movies Low-Res t-shirt here. This has been the one that has sold the most. Every single dollar goes into the project we're shooting next month. We have the Young Leche Mass State Lottery crossover streetwear tees that have been airbrushed.
Two out of 4.
Left.
Yeah.
Yep.
This one's gone.
The Buddy Duress Helmet the Clown tee is now sold out as of today, and so is the Happy Fisherman tee. We still have Vitaly and You and I. Someone mentioned, though, they are waiting for payday to get this shirt. So I think I've seen 2 people say that. So it's going to be a race. All right. And then finally,
it's a 3-way race because depending on when that check clears.
Last but not least, now we have the home decor Mass State Lottery poster. I'll tell you how this came about. I was reading a lot of old Vice magazine from the late 90s and early aughts, and I was trying to get inspiration for graphics from magazines of the late 20th century. And I noticed, what makes all of these like PlayStation, Dreamcast ads so visceral and memorable? It's that they shot real stuff. They didn't edit shit in Photoshop. They just made something photographed it, and then tinkered from there. So at 4 a.m. one night, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to Uber Eats some fish heads to my apartment and a couple of bags of ice, and I'm just going to shoot this. And I did this poster here that you were seeing today. Now, this is not the A2 poster that is on the wall. The A2 poster actually looks a hell of a lot better. Once that comes in, I'm going to photograph it, and we're going to put that in its place. This is a little bit smaller, but this is just an example here. Why don't you scroll up real quick, Hans, and get the actual poster in the shot. These are all on sale. You can go to lowres.org and purchase those today. So, oh yeah, and then we have the Bring Hans to America fund currently in process, which somebody has already very kindly donated to, and a hefty sum to make the shoot next month that we're going to be doing a little bit more comfortable. For $1,000, you can become an associate producer. $5,000 is executive producer, and then $10,000, you're a real high roller if you're doing that. I couldn't believe anybody would ever do that. You become a producer on the project, and you can be as involved as you like, but do not tell me what to do with your money. So head on over to lowres.org and do that. Let's get back to Trainspotting.
Is this poster, because I saw that you posted something on your Instagram. Is that what the poster?
Yeah. So I got a test print sent to my mom's place, and she sent me a picture here, and this is what it will look like. So that's more like it. What did you get, bit by a cockroach?
No, my cat just took a big old shit, so it stinks over here. It's like, fuck. He was looking at me too. He was like, yeah, that's right. Smell that shit.
You know, I was thinking today that my toddler is very cat-like. He has big eyes. He just looks at you while taking a shit, and he just loves to knock things over and break them.
Yeah.
And just look at you like, what now? I'm a baby.
God.
You can't fight me.
Damn.
Well, I'm sorry you two have to put up with that in your own home. It's such an alpha move to do at such a young age as well, or such an animal age.
That's why they, I guess that's why they call it Generation Alpha.
Yeah.
Well, my cat is 4, so I think that's like 30
he's Gen Alpha
years.
too.
So no, he's just like a 35-year-old just being like, yeah, fuck you. I just took a shit. Deal with it. He's like, all right.
So Trainspotting came out it was 1996, I believe. Danny Boyle directed it. He worked with, what was the writer's name?
John Hodge.
John Hodge, that's right. John Hodge worked with him as well on Shallow Grave, which kind of feels like a cousin to the Trainspotting movie. Have you guys ever seen Shallow Grave?
No, that's the other one where he makes Ewan show his dick, though, right?
I think Ewan shows his dick in the third one as well, that 20th Century Fox bankrolled with Cameron Diaz. Anytime he works with Ewan's penis will pop out at some point. So, yeah, no, Shallow Grave was the first film from Danny Boyle inducted into the Criterion Collection as well. And it has a lot of the same vibe of Trainspotting. It kind of feels like a warm-up to that. I would definitely recommend it if you dig the movie, and you seem to dig the movie quite a lot. And it the characters are kind of similar in that they're unlikable, they get a big score, and then they wind up turning on each other as a result of it. And it feels like Trainspotting is the logical conclusion of what would follow. And in fact, there's a guy in the apartment that the characters in Shallow Grave are residing in who is the drug dealer at the end of the Trainspotting movie. So a lot of people have this headcanon of, okay, Shallow Grave is a sequel to Trainspotting because that drug dealer takes the money, goes and stays at this flat, and then dies, and then they have this money. It kind of links up that way. So it's kind of a cutesy little Marvel Cinematic Universe Kevin Smith thing that he did here for England. And it's a solid film. It's not as good as Trainspotting, but it is definitely very energetic and worth checking out. Danny Boyle proceeds to move on to The Beach after doing the Ewan McGregor, Cameron Diaz movie that follows the success of Trainspotting because they just wanted something else for him to do. They wanted Danny Boyle to make it over to America and become a mainstream hit the way that he was in the UK. And both of these movies wind up being tremendous flops and almost put him in director jail. I think the movie is called A Life Less Ordinary. Didn't
Yeah.
occur to me before. And it's a pretty bad, pretty strange film. Have you guys ever seen it?
Yeah, it is bizarre, and like on paper it'd be something where like if you just read back to me the plot or the scenes beat for beat, I'd be like, "Oh, this is going to be like a 5-star movie." But there's just something about it that it's weirdly straight to video in tone, and you don't get the kind of rhythmic punchiness of like train spotting where every single scene is memorable and there's something it feels like everything is set up to he's pulling no punches in train spotting. Every single scene is like, holy shit, this is a master at work. And then Life Less Ordinary is just, here's some shit happening. I don't care where the camera's pointing. I don't, it's
Yeah,
whatever.
he took the paycheck. It felt like either there was studio interference or he just didn't give a shit or he realized it was going to be a problem to begin with and thought, I'm just not going to do my best on this one. We're going to get through this one and hopefully do the beach, and that'll be a better film to have out with Fox.
What was going on in the United States in the 90s that there's so many movies about angels coming down from heaven to do something with humans?
Y2K, dog. It was the end of the
Is
world.
that is
Yeah.
that it?
The
Because
book
there's
of
so
Religious
many.
revival.
We have you have Dogma, right? That's an angels
Oh,
movie.
I wasn't
You
even thinking
have
Dogma. I was thinking Michael with John Travolta.
you have Michael. Then there's a Nicolas Cage one too, right?
City of Angels. That's
Yeah.
right.
There's another one, yeah, where it's just angels coming down, and
The Crow.
it was the Crow an angel too.
In a way, he was a dark angel.
Yeah, so I don't know what was going on in the 90s that was like a thing, especially because like I feel like now there's not like an official religion, I guess, in the States because there's so many of everything. But I guess in the 90s, I guess Catholicism was still like a mainstream thing.
Yeah.
And that's why you still got these movies that you're never gonna get anymore ever again, I think.
Never again. They even took out the line in Hallelujah where he says, maybe there's a God above. They took that out in Shrek on streaming. It's the weirdest thing. I'm
Oh,
like,
In
wow.
that
Shrek.
you're gonna edit that out? Like, what the fuck? That took some work. Like, editing audio is no small thing.
No, it's certainly not.
Who's watching Shrek and having an issue with that?
All the
It's-
atheist children who tune into Shrek, they don't want to hear that, Hans.
Don't indoctrinate my kids with your with your song that uses biblical metaphors for sex. Like,
Well, what do you guys think of Danny Boyle in general as a director? I think he's had a very interesting career, and he's kind of, I don't know, he's in a weird place right now. But he always winds up in a little bit of a lull and then comes back with something interesting. So Shallow Grave is the first one. Then we have Trainspotting, Life Less Ordinary flop, The Beach, another flop, and it ruins his relationship with Ewan McGregor because Ewan thought, well, I'm his guy. Why would he cast anybody else? You know, it'd be like if Hans thought he was going to be the lead in this next project, and then suddenly, I don't know, maybe we're casting Ryan Jackson instead. And then Hans is feeling kind of butthurt about that.
It's a much different movie, I think, too.
another hairless, ethnically ambiguous.
The Beach flops. I kind of want to go back and watch The Beach. I remember seeing it when it came out in 2000 or 2001, and it just never connected at all for me. But I was also 10 years old or 11 years old at the time, so why would it? And then after that, he's still working with Fox. Maybe he's on a contract with them. He winds up doing 28 Days Later. And that's the big comeback. That gets him mainstream success in America as well as the UK. Obviously, it has such a distinct visual style since they shot on handycams during the time. He does Millions after that. That's the children's film about the kids who find a bag of. He really gets hung up on finding a bag of money.
Mm.
So I guess that was like his
Who
real
among us?
story.
I mean-
Yeah, with A Life Less Ordinary. That might be the inspiration for that. Sunshine in 2007, which I remember people on message boards really talking that movie up, saying, "Oh, this is actually one of the best sci-fi movies ever made." And I watched it. I thought, "This is all right," you know.
Yeah, I watched that and can't remember a whole lot about it. But I also remember thinking, "Oh, this is great," and then I just can't. Nothing comes to mind.
I merge it in my head with moments from Prometheus for some reason.
Is that a remake? Is it a remake from what am I thinking of? There's like a 70s movie where there's a similar story. I don't know what am I thinking of?
2001: A Space
Solar
Odyssey.
I think I'm thinking of Solaris, which is probably not
No,
anywhere close to
Soderbergh
what this.
remade Solaris around the same time with George Clooney, so you might be getting that confused.
That's what I'm thinking of. Okay, never mind.
2008, he wins Best Picture and Best Director with Slumdog Millionaire, launches the career of Dev Patel, the only famous Indian man in 2008. He paved the way for Kumail Nanjiani. It was just all downhill from there.
Also, I mean, also in a way, another stumble upon a bag of money story.
Oh, yeah, totally. We got 127 hours after that. I think this movie is pretty underrated. Great James
Yeah, that's
Franco
great.
performance, shot and edited in an interesting manner. Trance with James McAvoy in 2013. That's a piece of shit movie. I didn't like that movie at all.
Yeah.
Terrible. All we
Steve
get
Jobs.
is a full frontal Zoe Saldana, and then the rest of it is
I completely forgot about that even, and that should not have been forgotten about. So, and I got that movie on my shelf. I blind bought that on Blu-ray when it came out because I was like, I like James McAvoy, I like Danny Boyle. Of course, I'm gonna like this movie. And I have very little memory of anything in it. I think he was trying to
Man,
do Inception or something, or Memento. Right? He's trying to do something along the lines of that.
yeah, more along the Memento lines, where it's just this really twisty, highly convoluted, like, oh, we're gonna get you with the twist, and it's all about stealing a painting or some shit, and everybody's mad, but you don't really understand what the fuck's going on. So you're like,
is that the
um,
movie where Rosario Dawson is just naked for no reason?
oh, Rosario Dawson, I was being racist. Yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's the only thing
Holly
I remember about
Berry.
this
Holly
movie.
Berry. You know?
Oh, you're getting close to keep going, Loris, because you're getting close to a movie that I wanted to ask you about. So go on.
Oh, another Indian movie, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, in 2015, we have Steve Jobs, and I remember people were kind of put off by the idea of this movie because Ashton Kutcher did a Steve Jobs movie a couple of years before, and this was in development with Aaron Sorkin. They might have brought on Danny Boyle late into the process, and there was also Seth Rogen playing Steve Wozniak
Mhm.
in the movie. So people were just kind of like, And then Michael Fassbender didn't have the Steve Jobs look. He didn't really care to make his performance like Steve Jobs. But I actually think it's a great film. I think it's the better Steve Jobs movie out of the two that had come out.
Never seen it.
Never seen it?
Don't care.
I never
Don't
saw
care?
either of them. I
Rotten
did think
hell.
that was a funny discourse though. That was like, how dare you? Ashton
which
Kutcher
one?
already did. It's like,
Yeah. You know, he had
It
long hair,
reminds-
so he had the
it remi-
advantage there.
Reminds me of when Jared Leto did that who's the guy that killed John Lennon movie where he just got fat and the movie was
Oh,
a big
Mark
piece of shit.
David Chapman.
Yeah, and the movie was just a big piece of shit, and it's like, oh great, you just got fat for no
he,
reason.
he and 50 Cent were on that
Yeah.
same tip around
The
the same
50 Cent
time.
AIDS movie that nobody
Yeah.
saw or cared about. Damn, they should have done a buddy flick like that. That could have been so good, but wasted opportunity.
Oh man, where Jared Leto gives 50 Cent AIDS.
Oh, is it the trans from what is that movie
From
called?
Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah.
2017, we have T2 Trainspotting. We'll get to that later on. We'll talk about that a little more in depth. And then 2019, which is his latest film, Yesterday, which is about, hey, what if everybody forgot about the Beatles and an Indian man just started singing the Beatles? That's the movie. Have you guys seen Yesterday?
No, the trailer. That was enough.
I've seen Yesterday. I sat
Oh,
down
yeah?
and I watched it. It was on HBO Max. And I was like, you know what? I've seen all of his other movies.
Mm.
This is the one I didn't watch because the trailer put me
Yeah.
off to everything about it. And I watched it and I was like, yep, that was a big old piece of shit.
So what's this story? So the story is that what he lives in like an alternate reality where the
Nope.
Beatles don't exist?
Nope,
No.
nope, nope. He just wakes up one morning and nobody has any memory or idea of who the Beatles are. The Beatles are alive. There's a live John Lennon. He visits an old John Lennon who lives by the coast. So
What does he do? He just
he's
has
just
a
hanging out
Chinese
by a
wife.
lighthouse. No, he doesn't even have that.
So that's what happens if he gets rid of Joko. He lives and then he just moves to.
And everybody forgets the Beatles.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is there like some type of like Indian flavor to Let It Be or
Nope.
like no nothing?
Nope.
It's he just sounds like John Lennon and Paul McCartney singing.
No, he doesn't sound like them either. They're just very wowed by his lyrics and the music. And he's not like special at all, but they treat him like he's a big sensation. And he works with Ed Sheeran.
Is it?
Red curry fields forever.
What's the point? What's the point of this movie?
The
I guess
point
is what I'm
is,
trying to.
hey, we got access to the Beatles catalog and Ed Sheeran. What can we do with that? I don't know. Throw an Indian in there.
Throw an Indian guy to sing like them? What the
Mhm.
fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's not even like a hello to the Beatles
No.
or anything? No, there's nothing.
No.
It's just okay.
He got all that out of his system with Slumdog. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to do a proper Englishman who just so happens to be Indian.
That sucks. That sounds like a terrible
That
idea.
I
was-
told you it
wasn't-
was a terrible movie. I said it's a big old piece of shit. It is. It's bad. It's the worst movie he's probably ever done. I'd rather watch A Life Less Ordinary. At least that was crazy.
At least Ewan McGregor shoots a robot for stealing his job.
Well, this could be the comeback tip. He has 28 years later coming out next year. And I got confused originally because they started talking about we're going to do 2 different sequels to 28 Days Later. And one is going to be directed by the woman who helmed the Candyman remake. And the other is going to be Danny Boyle's actual sequel that we're all going to pay attention to, with Cillian Murphy returning, Jack O'Connell coming in, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Jodie Comer. And this is supposed to be, I guess they're shooting the sequel alongside it. So it's not like 2 different universes splintering off like they do with DC and shit. It's 28 years later, and then 28 years later, part 2, The Bone Temple, directed by Nia DaCosta. This is a bad idea. Why
What
the
is this, the
fuck?
Was it 28 years later if you're black? Is that what that movie is? What the what's
I
the
guess they got
point?
Cillian Murphy for that one, too.
Oh, God. See, this is when fuck. Because I really like the first 2 movies. Whenever they announced this, I got as excited as I was for Anchorman 2, where it's like this is pointless. Like it's been so long. Like, what's the point of doing this? But now that you say that, that sounds even worse than just remaking something that came out 20 years later. So I'm even less excited now too.
I think they got to kill this. They got to kill this. The Bone Temple, 28 years later, part 2. Wordy, first of all. Second, who's going to be... What if this flops? What if this 28 years later happens to flop? Is there going to be an appetite for that after we got like 7 different Walking Dead TV shows? I don't know. I'm interested in... I bet you this will be good. I bet you this one will be good.
The Danny Boyle one, yeah. Nia DaCosta fucking stinks, as we saw in that Candyman movie.
I
That
like the
sucks.
Candyman. We can go back to that episode. I thought it was better than the original, in fact. And also, Alex Garland, I think, is writing both of them. So your favorite will return, Hans.
Yeah, so I'm not excited.
Is
then,
that
I
the,
guess, as far
is
as
that
I
Civil
think
War
it
dude?
Yep.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He worked with Danny Boyle in the past. He wrote Sunshine, 28 Days Later, and he had written the novel of The Beach. So he used to be good.
What's the difference between The Beach and The Island by Michael Bay? Because I thought they were the same movie until 5 minutes ago.
The Island is a sci-fi film where I don't think they're allowed to reproduce, and so they got to escape. I probably have that wrong. And then The Beach is just Leonardo DiCaprio with his shirt off having sex with the island girls, and they're partying, and then somebody has a problem with them partying because they're close to the border of somewhere. I don't know. I don't quite remember, but they get in trouble.
Oh,
There's
I think
cannibals.
the reason why I got confused is because the island stars Ewan McGregor, so that's why I thought that was the Danny Boyle one. I haven't seen either, so maybe that's another reason why I'm confused as to which one's which. But yeah, the Michael Bay Ewan McGregor movie. I don't know why I
Mhm.
thought that was Danny Boyle. Never
Why don't
mind.
we rewind here? We got to get back to Trainspot.
Yeah.
We've hardly talked about
Yes.
Trainspotting, which has an Asian editor. Who knew? Maybe that explains why it's so quickly cut. You know, it has that very hip, fast-paced MTV style of editing that a lot of films would emulate and fail to recreate. So Danny Boyle directed it. It's written by John Hodge, and John Hodge does a terrific job. I think adapting the novel, he hits all the main beats. Obviously, you get Tommy's character is a combination between two characters from the book. There are conveniences that are made to figure out what is the trajectory here of this movie, because the book isn't really this streamlined story at all, and the movie isn't really either.
Mm.
But it certainly feels more like, okay, we're on track, we're going somewhere. Where is that somewhere? I guess it's going to be a very small stakes drug deal, and then it all flakes apart, like most young male friendships do.
So small stakes. Whenever
Yeah.
watching it again this time, I was like, holy shit, you just fucked your friends and put your life in danger because Begbie is a psychopath over like
Four
two
thousand.
grand. Yeah, yeah, four
Yes.
thousand
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get a brick and go to sell it for, way lowballed because they're just fuckheads that are just trying to hit an easy lick, and this drug dealer knows that, and it's just like, all right, whatever, I'll give you a few grand for it. They're like, all right, sweet.
I'm trying to put
So
myself in the headspace of their ages are what? Like they're probably early 20s here. And I
Yeah,
try to think if I was in my early 20s and I placed myself in my friend group in my early 20s, would I do the same thing? And the answer is maybe yes, I would, because I
yeah,
don't
probably.
understand
oof.
how little money $4,000 would be. But he comes away with 12,000, right? Wasn't it like a $16,000 deal, and they're gonna split it
Yeah,
the four ways?
They
four.
were gonna split it the four ways.
So
So
And he
frankly, I
gets four.
mean, for $12,000, I mean,
I don't
Hans,
know. I might even
you'd be
think
in
about it
trouble.
today.
I'd have to think about it really, really hard. I mean, I could turn twelve
Listen,
thousand dollars into more than that
c
quickly.
call me a piece of shit. I wouldn't have left 4,000 to Spud. What is that retard gonna do with that money now?
Yeah.
And he ended up wasting it. I I think going back to this movie's is a character run. You know, everyone, the performances, first of all, everyone is so fucking good and so believable. And everyone is such a flawed piece of shit character that you want to root for. That it's like I believe that the strongest aspect of the movie, along with the visuals, which I think are great, but he was able to get an amazing performance from every single one of the characters, and you believe even when the movie gets crazy, like with the whole, you know, I have a pile of shit in this bed sheet, and the mom of the girl's house that I ended up with, that whole shit thing, like you believe it. Why? Because Spud is kind of a retard, so that would
Hmm.
happen to him, so I think it's a great example of a movie that is driven by the characters, because again, like you guys said, the main robbery or the main thing that happens is like a very, very slow, small, uh I guess the 4,000 or whatever that they get each. So the whole thing is just following these very flawed characters that you want to win, but they're so flawed that they all kind of suck at the same time, so they don't. You just see them continue making mistakes over and over again, and you're just kind of waiting for them to, hey, maybe they'll get it one day, and they just don't. And the movie just ends, and you're just like, all right, well, it's not like they grew anywhere. It's not like the characters changed at any point. It's just these are just regular British people that
Well,
that
Scottish, but yeah.
okay, well, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's it rewatching this was so refreshing just because it's very rare now to get a movie where you have so many of these type of characters that you don't hate. And I think that's a big strength from this movie, that you kind of just want to root for all of them, even though they're kind of awful.
I think it's the perfect example of a piece of art where, like you said, the characters don't change by the end, and it still works perfect. That's not a mandatory thing for your story. Your protagonist does not have to change. Maybe he just needs to sell out his friends. Maybe he just has to say goodbye to that. That's not really a change in his personality. And you'll see with the sequel, these characters do undergo a change, minus Begbie, really. And we can talk about whether or not that works as well as what you get in this movie. Let me ask right up front, let me posit this question. Do you think this movie would be as good without the soundtrack?
Yes, because of
Yeah,
the yeah, because of the performances and the visuals, but it'd be odd without the
yeah.
soundtrack
I mean,
because
I think this is a movie that, not the entire backbone of it, but it's certainly a central pillar of what makes this film great is the soundtrack that they managed to obtain, and the vibes that Danny Boyle is able to bring out in Juice in certain scenes using the 80s, 90s electronic music that's in there.
Mm.
And, some of the artists that they were able to acquire music from, like Iggy Pop or Lou Reed.
it
Well, but
makes
I
sense. It
it's
being
kind of part of everything though, right? Like you kind of need that for the setting to work, because if you were to use any other type of music, I don't think it would work as well with the type of character they are, with the kind of setting that you have there. So that is like a perfect match. But if you didn't have that, I'm pretty sure we will be able to get, I don't know, maybe something that's not as perfect, but it wouldn't work as well as this pairing, I think.
it's kind of like what if Tetsuo didn't have a soundtrack?
Yeah,
Be-
exactly. It's very difficult to even imagine what that
Yeah.
looks like. Okay, what if it was just entirely a score made for the movie? Well, that is such a different film. I wonder if it's a lesser film.
Probably, probably because the scene, the structure of the movie, I think rhythmic. And you said it has this MTV music video
Yeah.
pace to it. And I think obviously the soundtrack lends a huge hand into that feel. If you take that away, then it's, I don't know, it's a lot of
You're stripping its character,
yeah.
essentially.
Well, it also adds a lot of personality with the way that the movie that it's edited, right? Like all the fast cuts whenever you need a fast cut, and then a slow, let's hold with the character whenever you need that too. So yeah, I feel like the choice of music was perfect for the type of movie that this is, and especially the period of time when this movie came out. Uh, I'm not confident enough to say it would be uh it mm, it would be worse, I think, if you didn't have that pairing, just because it just feels like such a perfect mix there of just setting characters and what that music sounds like, what it feels like. Especially when you go to the second movie, when you have that whole funny scene with them singing in that bar that they're like stealing from people. Like I feel like that's another element where the music comes in that you're not expecting. But yeah, it's tough to say. I would like to see a different cut with maybe different music, but at the same time, I'm sure that, I mean, you can find something similar that might not work as well. I just don't think that you will be able to find anything that matches the type of energy that this movie has as perfect as the music does.
Hmm. Who do you think gives the best performance in the movie? Because obviously, Ewan McGregor's the breakout star here for America, but for the UK, it was Robert Carlyle playing Begbie. Begbie is this iconic film
Yeah.
character for that country, and you wind up getting Robert Carlyle in a bunch of different movies as a result, like the Full Monty. We just covered one. It was called Ravenous, where he
Mhm.
plays a cannibal, and that movie was atrocious. That was really sloppily put together, top to bottom. But he's fine in it, I guess. I mean, he's doing his typical. He kind of gets into Begbie a little bit in that movie, and then hops out, and then he's just dapper Robert Carlyle wanting to eat you.
Well, part of what has this movie firing on all cylinders, just like it needs that soundtrack to be what it is, it also needs every performance because it
Yeah.
has, you have Ewan McGregor is probably showing the most range. Uh Sick Boy does charismatic with some understated, diff
Mental
diff
illness.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very understated mental illness. Um Spud is incredible as that bumbling retard.
Mhm.
He's perfect.
He's
So
He
got the
he also
perfect face too. Like I feel like that's such a British face that I don't think you can get anywhere else. Just like that type of face
mhm,
that he has is just perfect. Yeah.
just
Well,
stupid
British,
idiot
whatever.
face.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
Ewan Bremner played Renton in the play version of Trainspotting, and that's how Danny Boyle discovered him. But then he thought, "Nah, you're more of a Spud than a Renton, I think, with that face, with that look in your eye." And he was right. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen his version of Renton. I'm sure it was terrific, but I mean,
he
he's a
looks
solid
like a
actor.
real life Wallace and Gromit character.
And then you also have probably my favorite character here, Sick Boy, played by Johnny Lee Miller, who, aside from you and Bremner, maybe had the least impressive career following Train Spotting. What did he wind up doing? He was on Dark Shadows, the Tim Burton film,
Oh man.
and he did not Sherlock, Watson with Lucy Liu on CBS. He did a CBS procedural for a while where he was Sherlock
he's
Holmes.
he's like a big theater person in the UK, as far as I know. So he does a lot of like big plays over there.
Well, he actually
Uh,
did Danny Boyle's
yep.
Frankenstein play with Benedict Cumberbatch, and that was pretty good. That was pretty solid. They swapped off midway through between
Yeah.
playing Frankenstein and the monster. It was kind of a cool
S-
gimmick.
So he's at that level, I guess. So he would be like a Benedict Cumberbatch level, but in theater in the UK, I think, more than film. I think I would say, which sucks because theater sucks.
Yeah. And then you have
Interesting.
Kevin McKidd, who do you even really consider him part of the gang? Because he's not in the posters. So I don't really, in my head anyway, he's part of the gang, but he's not really part of the gang. And he's
Who's
also
that?
doomed.
The
That's
dude that gets
Tommy.
AIDS, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
Tommy.
Oh. Hmm.
Was he
Poor Tommy.
anybody's favorite character?
He's maybe a lot of people's most relatable character.
Well,
Oh,
there's no, I don't think there's any bad performance. Like, and that's
No,
one of the
there's not.
strengths of the movie too, that like everyone is so believable as like this down on their luck, kind of good for nothing type of character that's why you're able to just go with them on this journey of nothingness throughout the whole movie. Uh, but yeah, you believe every single one of the performances. Um, can we talk about how that well, it's not opening, first 5-10 minutes, that toilet scene, it's possibly one of the worst, most disgusting scenes to watch. And I still, after so many years, when I rewatched this movie yesterday, I was still kind of like, like fuck. Like I still just thinking of putting myself in that mind state of like digging into that toilet, and I still, yeah, it's still disgusting.
no, it's grimy. And here's where, like, this is Train Spotting is a perfect case against gritty realism, especially when you're doing a character study of like druggies or whatever, because I felt way more connected to that headspace than if you were showing like the total reality. Like anytime this movie unfolds into like total fantasy surrealist territory, like where he goes inside a toilet and then is swimming at the bottom of it to retrieve this suppository.
Yeah.
That's just to take the edge off a little bit. It's not even as good as heroin, it's like just some bullshit that he has to shove up his ass to get him through to the next hit. It's that headspace makes so much more sense than if you're just watching than like a heaven knows what type story.
Yeah.
And it did make me feel gross again. I thought as it was coming up, I was like, oh, this is gonna be funny because I've seen this movie 20
Yeah.
times, and I'm desensitized. I've seen so much. And I was squirming again. I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
gross.
You're like, I know what's going to happen. I just don't fucking and then when it happens, it's just yes, it's awful. It's really well done. Hey, how long ago? 20, almost 30 years ago, and it's still like an effective scene. So good. Well done.
I think one of the strengths of this movie too is something that can't really work for many other films is the montagey nature of so many of the important scenes. You're just kind of pulsating through whatever action is going to be happening that is going to wind up usually being consequential, like for example the whole shoplifting segment of the movie that you're given a glimpse into right at the top of the film, and then we get to about midway through where Spud winds up having to go to jail, and then Renton views this as his way out of his friend group without having to really truly cut ties in a deep way. But of course, they wind up coming right back to him first, Begbie, then Sick Boy, and suddenly there's this new third act uh, plot device in play, which is the score. And you have a cameo, although it's maybe not really a cameo. He's kind of a real character, and he becomes a real character in the second movie. Mikey Forrester, played by Irvine Welsh. And even he gives like a pretty good performance with his dopey looking face, too, for the limited time he is on screen. Also, Peter Mullen, who plays Mother Superior, that guy's a terrific actor, and he's great in a movie called Tyrannosaurus that came out, I think, in 2007 or 8 and is directed by Patty Considine. So just a little obscure film I'd recommend. I think Olivia Colman is featured in that movie as well. She's very popular right now. So that is one to check out.
Mother Superior is great too. In the scenes where he's going back, like after Tommy dies and he needs another hit and he goes back to Mother Superior, and then it's all of that music video montage, surreal shit of him jumping over the fence and landing in the apartment and
Mhm.
then getting high and falling back into the floor and then sinking into the floor into down this like uh carpeted abyss until he's dragged out into the street. And yeah, that's the montage nature of it. I think speaks to a time when you weren't well, I don't think as creators we have any obligation to cater to people's attention spans, but it is obvious that a lot of films are structured to be texting while you're watching it. And this is back when you have to pay attention. Like, oh, that was an actual plot device. Well, yeah, I mean you've been watching this movie, right? Like we showed it. We showed it for half a second. So yeah, you should have caught that.
How did you guys feel about the baby sequence? The baby sequence, aside from the toilet sequence, is the other moment in the film that winds up getting talked about the most. And I'll tell you what, I'm a little critical of it because I always thought that baby looked fake as fuck. It was always a little too fat in the face,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it never blinked or anything. So I was just, I don't know. That never put me in a state of, oh my God, can you believe this baby, this very obviously fake baby, is dead and crawling on the ceiling? I mean, when the baby dies in the movie, it's an impactful moment, obviously, but when they bring it back when Renton's
Oh
getting
yeah.
heroin flushed out of his system, it didn't
I thought that's
really
what
do
you
it for me.
meant. I thought that's what you meant. I was like, what do you mean he didn't blink? He was dead on the bed, swollen. Yeah, I kind of liked all the hallucination scenes, but at the same time, that one did feel like a little, oh, Danny Boyle just discovered this type of technology, so let's just have the baby do the exorcist spider walk on the ceiling, and it didn't look great, but I think that that scene is very impactful, but because it's so early in the movie, and also you're not really expecting it to get that real, I think, at that point, whenever that happens. But then it's immediately like, well, this is the reality of, I guess, if you do heroin, where you just don't notice things, and then your baby might just, what does it happen to it? Does it choke? Or just there, just starves?
Yeah, I
What
think he
how does
just
it?
like starves to death
Yeah, 'cause
from
it's
what I
just
can
laying
remember.
there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
so that's like an immediate, like uh realism, I guess, that slaps you in the face with this movie, where it's just like, it's not just funny that they're shitting themselves because they're doing heroin or whatever. It's like this, there's consequences to it, especially because immediately after this happens, I think the Renton character offers the mom to, or she asks for a hit or whatever. So
yeah,
it's very heavy with how they end up dealing with the baby death there.
yeah, it's real heavy. And the how they none of them knew who the father really was, but then they
Yeah.
kind of they're like, oh, it's got to be Sick Boy's kid. The way that he
Mhm.
reacts over it, that it hits hard, man. As a dad, anything with baby, like I'm really, really susceptible to anything involving kids, anything with sons. Whenever a dad is like, oh, I miss my boy, I'm like close to weeping at some kind of Disney shit or whatever. But so yeah, the that scene hits hard. The little cartoon baby on the ceiling is I guess welcome that it's not super. It's like, oh, you're bringing the baby back. Well, I'm fine with not feeling that intense about it again. you know?
So this movie was pretty controversial when it came out. I understand why it would be a film that would make, and in the UK especially, where they would ban movies. They banned A Clockwork Orange. They banned, what was it, Maniac. There were video nasties. You couldn't watch Bad Lieutenant in the UK up until like 2005 or something like that. They're very scared of movies over there. Trainspotting was one of these movies where it was a massive blockbuster success, and they were worried it was a bad influence, that it made heroin seem cool. It wasn't Ellen Clark with a girl nodding off on a couch injecting heroin into herself every single day. Did you want to use heroin because of this movie?
Yeah. Especially when
Hey,
they show how to do it. I was like, oh, that looks fun.
hey, let me ruin my life like everyone ruins their life in this movie. That's such a weird reason to ban a movie like this, because nothing is glorified here. Like
I don't know.
everyone's,
Sick Boy is so cool with his blonde hair and his suit, and he's got his little compartment in the shoe where he pulls the heroin out and everything.
yeah, they're
That
just
is
kind
pretty
of a
slick.
fucking, he's kind of a loser though, isn't he? Like
I mean,
they're
they're
all
all
just,
losers, obviously, but you're watching the
exactly.
losers in the movie be cool, you
But
know?
in between them, sure. That's like when you have your group of dork friends, and I don't even want to bring shit that I used to do when I when I was a little boy.
I was going to
Uh
ask, have you
I
guys ever
remember,
had a Begbie in your group of friends? Because I definitely did when I was
Oh
a
yes.
yeah.
teenager, especially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had a bunch of students that, which actually is what happens in this movie, right? The reason why he's friends with him is because the Begbie character was held back in school.
Hmm.
That's how I knew those people. I had 18
Begbie,
year
who's
old
10 years older than everyone else in the
I
group.
had I had 18-year-old classmates in sixth grade where I was 11. So that's not that far away from my sixth grade here. Yeah.
I hung out with a lot of my friends' uncles more than I hung out with my friends until I just became friends with like their uncles, and that was kind of my childhood was being around uh
You
a
were
bunch of
grooming them
unks.
for their uncles.
Yeah. Yeah. All these all these black kids that I was just like, no, I don't even want to go there. But yeah. Yeah, I was friends with a lot of dudes like 10 years older. definitely a couple come to mind where I was just in constant fear of my life. At the same time, they had like all the cool video games and they were like fun to be around,
Hmm.
but you're like they just like throw knives at the wall and shit. You're like, God damn, like I'm sitting right here just playing Grand Theft Auto. Like
Yeah.
You're
I'm
like,
not trying to.
it's fun as long as I'm not the one in the barrel, right? That's getting bullied. But if it's anyone else, and it's just like, oh, that's fine. I'm here making fun of them.
Yeah. We
That's
always
yeah.
had, because I grew up in the projects, we always had our group of friends that would hang out. And then when the group of friends would start smoking weed, that would then bring another group along and merge into this more super group of like, oh, the real bad kids came along. And then we're just like the normal kids. And then there was always this one who I think was vaguely cousins with one of our group, and his name was Nick, and you would just look at his face, and he had the gauntest eyes. It was like what Donald Pleasant's quote about Michael Myers: "The darkest eyes, a doll's eye." No, that's Jaws. A
It's just
doll's
yes.
eyes, and you would look at this kid's face and just be like, "Yeah, he's gonna go to prison. He's gonna kill somebody." It's just you can see it, you can see it, and he was like real bad. Like he was evil. He was an evil kid, and he would always do these little evil things. And then eventually he did go to prison. He got sent to prison for beating up his girlfriend or something. But you never wanted that kid around. And he was always like looking to fight with somebody or trying to like push things in a not fun direction. Like, haha, we're playing off the wall. You know, we're playing ASS. And then he would be like, yeah, look at that cat. Maybe we throw a rock at that cat. How about we kill this cat? Like it would go in that direction anytime he would show up. And I was just like, I got to get the hell away from this dude. So that was probably the closest thing I had to a Begbie in my group of friends as a teenager. And I jumped ship almost immediately as soon as I got out of the
Yeah.
projects. Never saw those guys again.
I don't think my Bigbies were that bad. I think mine were more like, oh, at any point this person's gonna pinch my tits or slap my balls.
That was
And
just all of us. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was everybody in my
I
friend
was
group.
that guy. No, one dude, Kevin, he had these painted rods. They were like closet rods, but they were painted, and they stood out in his room, but I never saw any use for them. So one day I just asked, I was like, what's with the closet rods that you keep by your bed? And he's like, oh, those are for beating squirrels. You want to go beat some squirrels?
Oh, very Thomas Sawyer of him.
Yeah. It's a little more wholesome, I think, than hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna cut up a cat today. Let's find somebody's cat. But yeah, yeah. So it's good to know that you know this is a commonality, I guess. How do you guys feel about the ending of the movie? We did talk about it a little bit earlier in the show, but it ends on such a okay, we did it. We made the score. And then you have the friendship there feeling unified for a moment. And then Begbie obviously can't keep his cool for too long. And it falls apart. And you have the Renton character seeing an opportunity in getting the hell out of there, taking that money and doing something with it, making himself into a real adult human man.
Yeah, so the books do this interesting thing where the impact of the movie or the impact of the ending uh is contingent on the context of what follows since it is a series.
Mm-hmm.
And the movies do this thing where they paint Renton in this light where by the sequel he's a little like he feels remorse over kind of what he did, but they kind of make him seem like he did become this more adjusted, person and whatever. And then in porno he's just like, oh, you're a piece of shit. Like, you're gonna keep ripping off your friends at any given opportunity. Like, you're just a terrible friend. And it's it's also interesting in the context of sort of people who share a lot of the anti-consumerist uh beliefs that he's like sort of eschewing in his monologue at the end there,
Hmm.
where yeah, those people are also usually the most terrible friends who are like super anti-consumerist and but in an ironic way where they also have the biggest TVs and shit. But you
Yeah.
know, we should be on board with socialism or whatever.
It's from
Right.
the mouth out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we did get around talking about his rant that he starts the movie with. I've seen that poster so many times, the entire thing in writing with usually like the toilet scene as the backdrop that's being overlaid, you know. It's it gets worse in T2. I really didn't like the sequel to that rant
Oh,
specifically.
what,
That's my least favorite part of T2.
what's the thing? Choose life, right?
Choose life, choose
Choose
slut
life.
shaming. That's
Yeah.
what he says.
Yeah,
Choose
choose
slut
slut
shaming.
shaming.
Damn, that really opens up a can of 2016 slut shaming.
I,
When was the last time you heard that?
I think the ending for this movie is very hopeful, and it's not really what you would expect or how you would expect the movie to end. And I really like what they did with the second movie, where you see that what you expect this character to do, it's presented as like, oh yeah, he became better, and then he's really not. He's just like the same piece of shit. So I like that that at the end of the day he made this decision as to I'm gonna change my life and become better, and then he doesn't. So I it works for me.
Well, do you guys have anything you want to add about train spotting before we jump into T2 train spotting?
Nikki as a sinister, there's never I'm not one of these you couldn't do this today types because you can do whatever you want if you have the balls for it and the means to get it out there somehow, obviously. But Nikki as this sinister underage, I'm gonna trick you into being a pedophile character is uh is also great. That's one of those things you could barely get away with today.
Oh yes, Kelly McDonald's character Diane in the movie. Yes, uh, he is tricked into being. I mean, well, it's the UK, right? So what is he really worried
Yeah.
about? What is the age of consent over there, Hans? It's
Oh
16,
right,
isn't it?
don't they start drinking at 12 and like
Yeah, there's also an early trans commentary in this
Oh,
movie
that's right.
too.
You know, I heard that the idea for including that in the film was because Danny Boyle's brother is a cross-dresser.
So you humiliate him in the movie? Is
I
that?
think that might have been his brother playing the role, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I got that
Wow.
wrong. Danny Boyle was trying to be a priest. Did you know that before he became a director? He tried to join the priesthood and then said, this is not for me, and became
Well, it's very
this
very
guy.
nice of him to cast his brother in a scene where the character goes, "Ah," when they find out that it's a man. That was very, very nice of him. Very good.
It's 1996. What do you want? Everybody's just gay. You're wearing a dress? Oh, that's gay. You're a gay
Yeah.
guy, you know? Yeah, Trainspotting is one of my favorite movies. It might be my favorite movie. I mean, it's tough to say. Every 10, 15 years, it's a new male camaraderie film, usually that matches my age. So when I was a kid, it was Stand By Me. In my 20s, it was Trainspotting. And now it's currently Husbands. So, but I would say that Trainspotting is probably the film that's had the most influence on my interest as a director and my interest as an editor. So I was very happy to see that T2 Train Spotting finally happened because they were talking about developing it for the longest time. Danny Boyle and Ewan McGregor had their falling out, so there was a bit of friction there where Ewan McGregor just did not want to work with him. He wasn't on speaking terms with him. But there was always this understanding of, okay, if it happens, if that ball starts to roll, I'm going to go with that anyway. Doesn't matter. And then you take a look at Ewan McGregor's later career and you really understand that because he just makes terrible movies. Ghost Rider, Birds of Prey. He got Fargo season 3 at one point and destroyed his marriage and another marriage because he was sleeping with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. But he gets
Christopher
Train
Robin.
Spotting. Yeah, he gets Train
It's-
Spotting too in 2017. They wanted to wait to do it because I guess this was Danny Boyle's excuse anyway, is nobody actually looks that much older. He wanted it to be Okay, we're doing it 10 years apart, but nobody looks 10 years older. And maybe that's true,
Mm.
but
They definitely look 20 years older in this one, in the second one.
mhm.
Yeah, all those close-ups, which he uses a lot of. You can really see them wrinkles there.
I like that Robert Carlyle took whatever cap he has on his tooth off to have a chipped tooth for the movie. That was I like that decision for Begbie. It felt
Yeah,
very authentic.
got a little fat too, a little chubby, a little filled up,
Well, he
but
was
not
10 years
muscular.
older than all the other actors. So he
Mm.
played Begbie when he was about 34, 35. Everybody else was about 24, 25. So he properly aged significantly within that time. But he doesn't look the worst, I don't think, of these four. I think probably, I mean, what Johnny Lee Miller actually looks like, I think they do a good job of dressing him up pretty well for the movie. But if you take a look at his Wikipedia page, can you just pull up his photo that is on Wikipedia, Hans? If they made him look like this for the movie, god damn, it would have been a stark contrast from Sick Boy with his cool blonde hair.
Wikipedia?
Wikipedia.
I mean, that doesn't really look that. This?
No, 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 no. That is not. What are you talking about? That's not what I just saw. That
Wait,
is
this
not
is
what I
I
just
just
saw.
I just realized that's in Spanish. Hold on one second. The
The
Spanish
Spanish
Wikipedia has a
Wikipedia is much more
nicer
flat.
photo.
Damn, he looks like Frankenstein for real. Yo. Oh, man. He's only 51? He's only 51 right now. That's crazy.
He
Well,
looks like a knockoff Woody Harrelson.
yeah. That dome is very tall. That is a very tall head. My Lord. Okay. And then you have Ewan Bremner, who looks about normal, I guess, for what that man, what that character would age into. He obviously looks rough as the character in the film, but I don't think he's aged poorly. And then, of course, Ewan McGregor, who's pretty much the same. He looks a little beefier, and I think his hair is a bit shorter for this film, which is not a flattering look, but he aged probably the best. You also have James
Kelly,
Cosmo coming back for the role. Sorry about that. What were you going to say?
oh, Kelly MacDonald's the one that aged the best, I think. He had no career though, at all. She has a career now because of that second movie. That she was, I think, added to a couple of American TV shows, but
Yeah,
besides
yeah,
that,
she was in some show. What was it?
a procedural detective show or something.
Probably.
She actually had more scenes in Trainspotting 2 that they cut out. So her role winds up becoming a cameo, but if I remember right from the Blu-ray, they shot 2 or 3 additional scenes where her character was aiding Renton in something and was a little bit more involved in the scam that they're trying to pull against the government to get their funding. But then at the last minute, I guess Danny Boyle decided, nah, we don't need any of that. So it wound up on the cutting room floor. I mean,
Boardwalk Empire was the show.
That's
that she
that's
did.
right.
Yeah.
She's the good
She's
girl.
actually done a bunch of shit that I guess she's just very not memorable.
Yeah,
I
she
guess.
just
Disney
blended
princess.
into it well.
She's brave.
Oh right, yeah, she's the voice of Brave. She was in the Harry Potter last movie. She was in Choke, No Country for Old Men, Lassie from 2005. Dude, I didn't know they did a Lassie movie in
Actually, there's a
2005.
man, how
Lassie
could you
movie
forget?
out this year,
No,
but
there
only for
isn't.
Germany. And they also released it in South Korea. Germans love Lassie.
Is it 3D animated?
Nope. It's a real live action film, but it's in German. And it's a film that I only saw on YTS.MX, aka the Costa Rican Theater, and found out it existed. Germans just love Lassie.
She drives a car. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
All right, well,
I mean,
now
Lassie
we're-
is a miracle dog, though, so I'm not surprised.
There
Wow.
Hell yeah.
I'm impressed. Oh, yeah, the pigs come out. Oh,
man.
the plot of this is Lassie has to investigate who is dog napping all the dogs in Germany.
Oh.
I think it actually turns out to be some Pakistani or Arab guy
No,
So
there's no way that Germans were brave enough to do that.
I don't know.
Never. No way.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like the guy was Arab.
A thrilling, what does it say?
A
New
thrilling new
sequel.
sequel.
Hell yeah. Look at that. The Pomeranian.
That's where they belong, in the dryer.
How come we don't have any
Smash.
audio here, Hans? How come we're not
Uh,
listening to Lassie? We're just enjoying it quietly.
can you hear that?
Nope.
Well, I didn't share sound. That's why. I'm retarded.
That's all right.
It's almost over
I
now.
think
I
we're
don't want
too
to
late into the
restart.
trailer.
Yeah.
Damn, look at that.
Yeah, yeah,
Thrilling.
yeah.
A new adventure.
That's cool. Okay, well, fuck. Um, to be German, I think it's a good.
What is it, girl? Pakistanis are putting Pomeranians in the dryer?
How do they eat? Yeah. Fuck. It's got 2 stars on The Guardian. That's very not very nice. Pooch pinching operation by being captured in his own. Oh. Okay, well, Europe, right? Am I right, guys? Making
I'm
Lassie
intrigued.
movies in 2024.
Bookmarking.
Should we do a
A
should we do a
Lassie
Lassie
retrospective?
2024 episode? No, just the latest one. Just the last
Okay.
one.
If someone in the
Because there's
$100 tier wants to pay for that, I'm down to do the German Lassie movie.
yeah, there will be too many of them, right? To watch a retrospective of
No.
Lassie movies.
Well, Lassie was a TV show mainly. I don't think there's that many movies. It was like
Yeah, and
Flipper.
they're like 10 minutes long from the golden age of just an excuse to throw a bunch of Coke commercials into something.
Yeah, I'm sure there were some Lassie serials back in the 40s or 50s before they figured out TV. No?
There's 12 Lassie movies without counting this year's.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
$1,200 is what I'm hearing.
Cha-ching. You're going to bring Hans to America, girl?
see, here it is.
List
Lassie
of
come
Lassie
home from
movies.
43. Son of Lassie, that's hilarious. Courage of Lassie. He also-
And this doesn't include,
Challenge.
there are actually 13 because this
Yep.
only goes to 2005.
Uh-huh. That's
That's
what I was saying.
amazing.
So there might be more. We missed the Lassie Renaissance in the 2000s because the 2005 seems like it's a long time ago for it to not have a Lassie movie in between.
That's off right before 2006's Lassie in the Hood.
Leprechaun in the Lassie. That's a porno one.
It's a different kind of Lassie.
Oh man, that's great. Good. Happy for them. We were talking about Mr. Ed on an episode, like 10 episodes ago, and good to see that that franchises from those golden days of American televisions are still
Well,
going
Lassie
with
got
us.
distributed in other continents like it was just a normal movie that they would put out over there. When I tried to look this up after I found out about it, I saw a lot of Japanese and Korean posters for the theatrical release of this Lassie: A New Adventure.
Is that where they eat Lassie? Lassie looks delicious.
Guess who's coming to dinner? A Lassie tale.
Oh, well, all right. With Trainspotting 2,
We've gone
Kelby,
off the rails on this. This train spotting venture has gone off the rails.
were you disappointed at all that they veered away from porno for the sequel?
No, I thought it was a good decision for. I mean, given that you're probably not going to get another chance to follow it up, though you could have porno's ending. I guess I haven't read past porno. I read Skag Boys, which is a prequel, but I haven't read anything that follows porno. So I don't know what comes after that. But it does have kind of a cliffhanger in a way where it's just like, oh, Renton fucked us over again, and Sick
Do you
Boy
want
is
to
like, hey,
unpack
Becky.
do you want to unpack the ending for porno real quick for those who haven't read the book?
So porno, Renton comes back. Sick Boy is upset with him. Begbie just gets out of prison. much like in the movie as well. But one of the things that's added in the book that they left out of the movie is Sick Boy has been anonymously sending gay porn to Begbie while in prison just to like fuck with them. And it's one of the things when Begbie gets out, he's like, "Who the fuck's been sending me this gay porn? Like I'm gonna kill him." but, uh, but other than that, like it's kind of similar in that way, at least, where sick everybody's kind of besides Spud is upset with Renton. Uh, Nobody knows that he left Spud money. Um, and then that becomes a point of contention later when they do find out that he did. Uh, at the end, this also similar to the movie as well. There's this opportunity for a big scam, at least much bigger than the first one, where there's like 60,000 pounds on the line, uh, instead of what 12,000 or whatever it is.
16, yeah.
16. So, and Renton makes away with all of that with two of the girls. He flees with two of the chicks and is like, we're gonna fuck over the dudes, ladies. I'm one of these cool, I'm
Incels.
woke with it. Yeah. And, these guys are toxic. We need to just bail. And Sick Boy Begbie is chasing after Renton, gets run over by a car, and then is in the hospital with Sick Boy at his bedside being like, we're gonna fuck that Renton up, right? You're gonna really fuck him up when you get out of this one. And that's kind of where we leave porno.
Because you do get a little bit of that here on the second one.
Yeah, there are moments that mirror it, and then they go in a different direction with it. So I guess when you go on from porno, that's when Begbie gets out of the hospital and becomes a charming gentleman artist, the blade artist.
Actually, I forgot.
Yes.
Boy, fuck you. I'm going to LA.
I started reading Dead Man's Trousers. I didn't finish it, but it reads well. He's still a pretty solid writer. I don't think he's fallen off too much, Irvine Welsh. And it opens with Renton on a plane heading back, and Begbie's also on the plane. But Begbie, again, is this distinguished gentleman from Los Angeles, California now who dropped his accent. And he's like, hey, Renton, my buddy, how are you doing today? And he's with his wife and everything. And Renton's like, who the fuck is this guy? I don't recognize this Begbie at all. And I was like, yeah, I don't recognize him either. What the hell is this book? So I don't know. And apparently one of the four in that book, I haven't gotten to this point, die. They're going to wind up dead by the end of the book. That's the name, Dead Man's Trousers.
What a weird choice to have the character that goes, oh, fucking shut up to his wife when she's trying to console him because his dick doesn't get hard. From that to, well, now I'm an artist in LA. It's such a bizarre.
Well, you know what? They're going to bring that to television. Robert Carlyle said we're working on a short limited series called Begbie that will be based on that book, The Blade Artist. So you will get to see that happen, hopefully.
But so it has to end with him breaking bad, right? To put it in a way.
Oh no, he's still killing people. He becomes a serial killer.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what that guy would do in real life. Is he would just hide his old identity and become a serial killer, cold calculating serial killer.
Yeah, the guy's completely outward with his violence, who doesn't give a shit about who's looking at him stab people in the face with a glass. That's the guy that's just like, okay, fair, I guess.
Who's ripping pages of Spud's memoir off the wall and being like, what's this gay shit you do? Yeah, that's the guy who's like, I'm gonna reinvent myself as an artist.
Yeah.
Gonna do slam poetry in California. Yeah.
What did you guys think about the turn for Spud where he essentially becomes Irvine Welsh? Did you buy it? Because I had a hard time taking that at face value and being like, all right. Of course, you kind of have to get to the end of the movie. You kind of have to just deal with it. Okay, he's becoming the narrator. He's becoming the author of Trainspotting. We're doing this meta thing. But I don't know. I thought it was a bit of a hard sell for me.
That yeah, it's where well the movie at that point you realize has become more of a statement piece than a continuation of the story, and it's very self-critical of what it's doing, being like this legacy sequel
Hmm.
of this, thing that was such a staple of its time. And oh look, we're going to do it all over again. And but I really liked it. It didn't it wasn't too ironic about it. It felt sincere in ways. It felt sincere even in its self-criticism. It wasn't just like, haha, fuck you, we're doing a callback scene. It's like, we're doing a callback scene and we're gonna have Sick Boy ruminating on how fucking pointless this is.
Yes,
And
I'll give this movie a lot of credit because it could have been very easy to fall into the trappings of a Anchorman 2, as you referenced earlier, Hans, or a Dumb and Dumber 2, and repeat the same movie you saw, but with older actors. And they don't do that. They do retread some things, of course, but I think for the most part, they did a good job of veering away from that impulse of, let's just do the same thing again. It worked then, maybe it'll work now. And even when it starts to go down that course, they know to subvert whatever the expectation is going to be there and try something a little bit different. And the style and the look of the movie is also a pretty big departure from what Danny Boyle did in the 90s with Trainspotting. It feels much more in line with his modern style that he did with Steve Jobs and Trance and 127 Hours, everything post Slumdog Millionaire, essentially. And I think it works for it. I think it works for it enough. I understand the compulsion to want to not do what you had done once before in terms of like how you're helming the movie and not repeat that. I do think maybe we could have benefited a bit more from that Train Spotting style that was like his house formula of the 90s. But the cinematography is good. I think the lighting is good. I enjoyed how distinct things like the nightclub were, where you just have this very neon blue looking space where Begbie's creeping over the bathroom stall after he hears Renton making noise in there, and you have this chase sequence. I think it does a lot right. And I also think that deciding to focus as much on Sick Boy and maybe even more so than Renton was the right move for this film as well. And seeing his perspective on what had happened in that first movie and how he's blackmailing these guys and using this girl. The only thing I really didn't like about the movie was, all right, I thought it was telegraphed pretty early on when this character, this female character, the sort of voice of reason character to the movie is introduced. She's going to get away with whatever scam money that they have. She's going to get away with it because she's the closest thing to a good person that we're going to be introduced to here. And I didn't like that. I didn't think she was a very good actress.
yeah, and her little like remarks of, oh, isn't it so cute that y'all are so gay for each other?
Hmm.
And I mean, all right, low hanging fruit, I guess, or whatever. That's just every bromance. There's that chick who's like, oh, y'all are such faggots. How adorable. Like, bitch, shut up.
Well, it's another callback to Dexter, I think, that you mentioned, LowRes, because I don't know if you remember Dexter around season 5,
Jordan
6, or maybe.
Chase, take it. He becomes Johnny Lee Miller's the motivational speaker villain of the
No, no,
season.
no. Oh, fuck, I forgot he was in this. No, I mean, when you bring a girl that is not a great character because she kind of sucks, and then she gets away with everything and ends up winning. That kind of happens in Dexter too with you
That wasn't
remember
Julia
the
Stiles. That was
no, no,
the
no, no. His girlfriend, his Russian girlfriend that he falls in love with, and she's also a killer, or she also is kind of like a criminal. And
yeah.
then when the whole storm happens, that she goes away to like Argentina with his kid or something, and she's fine.
Oh yeah,
She
they
gets away
literally
with it.
recreated the Dark Knight Rises
Yeah.
ending. Dexter Moore. They used a red carpet photo of Michael C. Hall, and it was like the front page news.
Yeah.
Dexter Morgan, this lab, what was he? Blood spatter
Mhm.
analyst, Dead.
died in this storm
Died in
because
the
he
ocean. You know, they would put that on the
tried.
front page of the Miami Herald, I'm sure.
Yeah, he died because his sister was also dead in a boat, and he went into the ocean to do some. I don't even remember why, but like it made no sense. And
She
she,
gave her the Osama bin Laden burial at sea after she passed away.
yeah, for the storm.
And
So that's
he
another
swam back.
thing, another I guess you can compare to Dexter, Trainspotting 2. I thought the second movie was a lot funnier than the first one. I don't know if you guys agree with that. But I think seeing them older and more desperate was funnier than seeing them young and disgusting. Because I feel like when they're younger, like there's some type of like freshness, like some type of like sparkle in their eye. And now that they're a lot older, their desperation is a lot more real. So the scenes like when they have to come up with a song to appease the nationalist Catholic retards that they just stole from,
Mhm.
that whole scene that's like 10 minutes, I thought that scene was great and it was really funny. And I I mean, even though it's I don't know if I would call the movie a comedy, but I think the characters do enough with themselves that it has a lot of really funny moments that I didn't get on the first one. As much as the first one is also funny, but I thought this one was a lot funnier.
I thought it was visionary because the plot of this movie, what they're doing, is essentially what every black entrepreneur did during COVID, which is, hey, we're just going to get all the government grants and then do whatever the hell we want with it. It's a great move. I wish I did.
Yeah.
I wish I thought of that for the LLC that I got. Damn.
Yeah, fuck. Would be set up so well right
Yeah, we wouldn't
now
have to
if
do
you're
the Bring Hans to America fund. Then again, I might be in Rikers by now. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I know somebody who pulled that off and isn't sitting so pretty anymore. He
Oh, really?
didn't go to prison, but is not
They're
doing
on the
too
hook.
well. Yeah,
Damn.
I have to
I think got in
pay
a
all that
lot of
back.
trouble. Yeah.
You just got to kind of hope that the government forgets. You just want them to forget. And then, they don't have time to do it. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case for a lot of
Oh,
people.
I forgot I sent you 50 G's.
Well, you just flee the country and move into a third world country where 50 G's can afford you 3 years or 4 years of life, and they'll forget after that. They're not gonna look for those 50 G's 4 years later, right?
Yeah, my next stimmy, I'm just going to Costa Rica.
Yeah. Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Open up a cafe or some shit in some beach, and that's what fucking gringos do here. They come to retire here with like whatever retirement money they have. They open a business that's not gonna make them any money, but because the rent and living is so cheap. There's so many of them that have like on English only bookstores close to the beach, and it's like there's no one going to that. But it's just you just see it's just like an old man with like a big beard, and it just yeah. What is it? Expats that just come here and just invest a little bit just so that they can live their last 20 years, and it works. So if the government is after you, LowRes, we can just set up a Costa Rican office
Costa
over
Rican
here of the
storefront. That'll
company.
be
And
good.
there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
I was just getting recommended videos from Thailand of these office, like these people who have email jobs moving to Thailand because you can pay $1 a day for a 5-star hotel, $1 a day for a 3-course meal, $1 a
Yeah.
day for tuk tuk.
Yeah, but then you have to live there though. I think that's the problem.
Right. I would never want to live in Thailand, personally speaking. It's very pedophile coded, I would say, Thailand.
It also has that thing where it kind of just looks like it would smell everywhere. I don't know if it's me being racist against my own people, but it
I was
just
going to
kind
say,
of
why
looks
would you
like
want to move to an Asian country where they're stupid?
exactly right. Yeah.
So, Train Spotting 2, I think I might have overrated this movie when I put it on Letterboxd. I feel like I gave it 5 stars. It's not a 5-star movie, but I have a great attachment to these characters, and I enjoyed that they stuck the landing well enough. But it kind of, I think it leaves an interesting and weird message here of, well, what are you getting at with the result, because the first movie makes sense and I can co-sign it, which is if your friends are losers and you have an opportunity, maybe you prioritize yourself, you want to evolve beyond that, do that, make that decision. Maybe don't fuck them over if you have the choice, but you got to move on, you got to mature. And then things come right back around here where it's like, maybe if you're a loser and you can't help but be a loser, maybe you just stay with the losers and you get on the couch and watch whatever Johnny Lee Miller is playing, some porno probably.
Yeah, stay with the losers, smoke some crack with your friend, be a little gay in your 40s, and go
And
back
watch
to your
some
childhood bedroom
and
and
watch some
dance
rich
to a
rich
record.
man getting pegged by women. That's what they did. Just older men that get paid. I mean, that pay to get fucked. No, I that sucks. That sounds like a horrendous future. I don't know. That's horrible. I agree with you though that I feel like and we go back to the, if your characters are interesting enough, you can just put them anywhere doing anything and they will be interesting to look at. And I think these two movies are a perfect example of that, where you're willing to sit and watch Ewan McGregor and John Lee Miller just watch, older man getting pegged, and you're just like, yeah, this is cool. Why not?
It did work for me. And I felt for Spud. I feel like Spud feels a lot more like a character. He didn't feel like a caricature in the first one, I don't think, but he feels more like a real life dude in the second one, where he's got a kid, he's trying to be a dad, kind of. He's trying to do right, but he is just a perpetual fuck up. Like he is just retarded, and so you really
Yeah.
feel for him. You're like, damn, you're like the type who could you want to be good so bad, but you're just so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't even know what daylight savings time is, and that's what gets you fired from your job.
We have a pretty disgusting scene too where he's trying to kill himself using a bag over his head and then vomits inside of the bag.
That's his commitment to the retarded role that he was given is commendable for
Mhm.
both movies, I think. That scene where he just shits himself in the bed, like that whole sequence is so great. And you need to be a specific type of actor, I think, to pull it off as well as he does. So he's like the perfect character for this role, I think. He has a perfect look, and his performance is also perfect for what you want from this character, to not only uh, feel sorry for them and laugh at them, but also kind of root for them to get better, even though he's incapable of.
Well, little known fact here, and by little known, I just mean I didn't know it until right now. Ewan Bremner won the BAFTA for his role in Trainspotting 2, but
Oh shit.
specifically the BAFTA Scotland Award. So, how many Scottish films are they competing with? How did this not sweep?
Won every award.
I mean, I guess I don't know how the hell they do this. Brian Cox won Best Actor. I think they only award Scottish people for whatever. Alan
Oh,
Cumming won Best Actor, Singer, Director, Producer, Writer, Activist. I don't know this shit.
Activist.
This is
activist,
nonsense,
that's
Hans. What can you defend your real
no.
country here, your UK home?
No, I mean, some BAFTA movies are usually better than what they pick for Oscars, but they've gotten bad just like the Oscars have in the past 10, 15 years. So I'm happy that award shows and all these awards have lost so much prestige in the past years, because I feel like whenever you have a an award that is decided by a specific group of people that might not even be familiar with the type of thing that you're doing, but it's just like a general, we're gonna judge everything with the same brush. I'm glad that all of those things have lost value, and
I'm sorry,
where
did the British Academy Scotland Awards really have that much prestige to
No, no,
begin
no, no.
with?
But I'm no, but I'm thinking, I'm thinking BAFTA. I'm thinking Oscars, like Grammys. Like I don't think anyone gives a shit about them as much as they did before, and I'm happy about that, because I don't like the fact that some people need the qualification of, well, they won an award, so it has to be it's a good movie when we've seen when the track record that these awards have has not been great ever. There's some good years, but I feel like removing that whatever value these awards give to movies is it's a step in the positive direction. Because you don't let other people tell you what you should be watching or what's good, unless you listen to the show.
Right. Yes. Well, Danny Boyle and Irvine Welsh have expressed interest in doing a third Trainspotting movie. Maybe when they're all pushing 80, that could work.
Dead Man's Trousers.
They'll finally do Dead Man's Trousers. 75 years old, shooting heroin. It could be something. It could be something very different. Where have you ever seen that?
I mean, no. Hey, bring back the old man comedy. Grumpy old
Ooh,
man.
yeah.
Uh,
Out to Sea, The Odd
yeah,
Couple, all of the Walter Matthau, Jack Lemmon buddy flicks. You could definitely do it with these guys.
I'm here for it. Old ass Ewan McGregor and Johnny Lee Miller.
I hope one of them progressively gets fatter, and especially Ewan. I think Ewan deserves to fatten up after stealing Riley Stearns' wife. Poor Riley Stearns had Mary Elizabeth Winstead since childhood, and Ewan said, mine now, and dumped his old wife and child so he could have her.
Wait, wasn't he one of those weird Hollywood people that marry someone that's like 40 years older than them?
A gay guy, you mean? No, you're thinking of Hugh Jackman.
Oh, true. Or Aaron Taylor Johnson, right?
Yeah, but I think he actually is into the wife because they had kids and everything together. I think he's just a mommy's boy, like Bo Burnham.
Does he also have a no wife?
Yep. They both have 50-year-old wives.
That's fun. That's great.
I'm gonna call that Ewan McGregor gets fat over the next 10 years and stars as Donald Trump in the biopic.
Wait,
It's
isn't
going to
there a
be, there
there a
is.
Donald Trump movie coming out this
Yeah,
year with
Sebastian Stan. He looks pretty good too as Trump. And I heard that Jeremy Strong's performance as, what was it, Michael Cohn or who's he playing? Fuck. Oh God, I don't know. I don't know the name of the guy off the top of my head. I mean, it looks good. It's called The Apprentice, but I do like the idea of Ewan McGregor then being late to the party doing the fat, balding Donald Trump biopic that nobody sees. That like this other Steve Jobs movie, but for Donald Trump.
He's got the skin complexion. If he
Mhm.
gets fat, does it? He kind of had the beginnings of that hair going on in Fargo season 3.
Mhm.
You just thin out that hairstyle, and I mean, you're there.
What do we got, Hans?
I thought this was wow. I honestly thought that this was an American Horror Story type of series, but I guess it's not
The Donald Trump
because
biopic?
yeah. Or I thought they were doing one of those, weren't they?
No, the director of Holy Spider is taking on Donald Trump's 1970s, 1980s real estate run.
Oh, okay. Well, this should be interesting, at least.
I think so. I
Rated
actually think it's going to
R.
wind up being good. But
I mean, he looks a lot like a young Trump, so that's at least they got the look down, so that's good, I
mhm.
guess. Better than you would get in like whatever those right-wing movies that when they're trying to paint them in like a positive light look
No,
like.
we'll get a Reagan style Trump biopic
Oh,
soon enough. They teased it at the very end in the
oh
credits.
shit! Does Trump fuck in this movie? You're gonna see
Trump
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 fuck?
they have Trump rape actually.
Oh,
He's
oh,
raping his
this
wife Ivanka Trump.
this is Nosferatu. What the fuck? Why
Why is
does he
it
look like that?
why are you stuck on Ali Abbasi's
Yeah,
IMDb?
all I see is Ali Abbasi.
Oh, what? Are you guys not seeing what I'm
No, we
seeing?
didn't
Oh
see
shit.
anything.
Oh
I
fuck
think you were
no.
just watching the trailer by yourself.
Oh man, that's my bad. Sorry. I was talking about how,
Oh
this
yeah.
Nosferatu, yeah.
Hey, there's
Mhm.
Spud.
And he fucks. See, it looks like he's fucking there. That's why I was like, oh,
Mhm.
weird. Okay.
Stormy Daniels reprising her role.
Yeah, this will
That's,
be a treat when we see it this October. I think it starts playing in theaters next week. Roy Cohn,
uh,
there you go. And he was a character in Angels in America, played by Al Pacino. He died of AIDS.
who? What?
Roy Cohn, the real
Oh,
man, not Jeremy Strong here. A lot like Tommy in Trainspotting.
So
Very
the
unfortunate.
reason I fuck with porno above all of them
Mhm.
is because it has everything I love about Train Spotting. The language, the characters, the rhythm. I think the writing is tight. I mean, he's just spitting bars all throughout just he's really honed in on the voice of each narrator, and it's like, oh wow, you know these characters, and these are I'm enjoying the way this is being told, and there's just so much happening. It's just it's like Train Spotting cranked up to 11. There is so much scamming going on. um Nikki is way more involved in the scamming and shit than she is in the, and she's actually much more involved in the sort of porn subplots than what in Train Spotting 2 they make that kind of sick boys thing from the beginning
Right.
where he's he's pimping girls out to secretly film them for his pornos, and uh it's sort of a two birds one stone scenario there. And whereas in the book Nikki gets more into the porn, there's a lot of, it just feels bigger,
Mhm.
it's meatier, and it's like, yeah, this is what, if you want to just revel in Train Spotting world, it wouldn't work as a movie as much unless he went the Train Spotting direction and was like, we're gonna montage this shit, trim some shit down, and just, if T2 had been a lot more in the vein of Train Spotting, then you could have ripped right from porno for sure, and it might have been a better movie, honestly. But I'm not mad about the direction they took.
Porno also has one of the all-time great hardcover covers.
Oh yeah.
Hans, if you want to pull that up just real quick, Irvine Welsh's Porno.
yes, of
I was
course.
immediately, I had to like buy this when I was 12 years. I thought it was the coolest thing that they would do this with the cover. So there you go. There you have it. If you're on patreon.com/LowRes, you can see it, or you can just Google it on your own.
I'm
No,
glad
So
I
you got
googled
it.
porno Irvine Welsh and not just porno hardcover because I think the result would have been a lot different.
It is one of those scary Google keywords.
mhm. The porno book also features what would become a staple character for Irvine Welsh, Juice Terry Lawson, which we don't get that in T2. Maybe we'll get that at some other point. I did also buy, apparently, there's a Juice Terry novel that he put out kind of recently. It might be one of, or maybe his most recent book. No, no, no. His most recent book is Dead Man's Trousers. He did A Decent Ride back in 2015, and that stars the Terry Lawson character. So, and it all, he has his own little cinematic universe in his novels because that ties into Glue and other books. So,
Did you guys know there was a porno theater play?
porno
Mm.
theater play.
Yeah, so I just googled porno porno Irvine
Let's just
Welsh.
Google porno.
And I found this post from his official Facebook that says Trainspotting sequel, Irvine Welsh porno coming to Liverpool, Crewe, Manchester and London, West End. This is the cast. And it looks like shit.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Would you go see that?
No. No. But it looks like it was I guess his official, I guess, blessing. And
Oh yeah, they probably
it's
paid him $2,000 to license the book for 30 days. That's how plays
yeah.
work. You can get a hold of the rights to any book or any movie pretty easily compared to other mediums if you're just doing a stage play.
Uh, well, he's there. So he was paid off and he was also present for the play, I guess.
Just putting out there, anybody wants the stage rights, the 30-day stage rights to any of my work, hit me up.
This looks so fucking shitty. Look at that stage. What the fuck? Oh man. Oh, look at that. Oh, Jesus. Well.
Maybe there's a YouTube upload. That is one of my favorite, or was it used to be one of my favorite hobbies in the earlier days of YouTube. Is you would try and Google all these stage play adaptations and try and find it on there, like Evil Dead the musical.
Oh yeah.
That was one that made the rounds pretty frequently. And I've looked for Trainspotting play adaptations that would have featured Ewan Bremner, but nobody brought a video camera in 1990 or 1993 or whenever they were doing those. So that'll never happen, unfortunately. Kelby, do you have any interest in reading the last Trainspotting book?
Absolutely. I'll read anything Irvine Welsh.
What do you how many of his books have you read?
I haven't finished off the Trainspotting series. I've read Filth. I've read The Marabou Stork Nightmare,
Hmm.
Ecstasy. Uh, I have memories of Glue, but I think I just like picked up a copy way back in the day and never got around to reading it. Um, because that cover with the eggs, like the egg cracked open, I remember that,
All
like
his
having my
books,
hands on that.
when they were first published, had such distinctly strange covers that would always attract my eye whenever I was at like the library. And I would usually take them out and I would never read. They would just sit. They would collect dust. It wouldn't be until I was in my teens that I would actually sit down and read many of these books here. But yeah, Glue was definitely one I remember taking out and then never opening. That and Crime were the two blind spots for me.
Crime, yeah, I haven't read Crime or A Decent Ride.
A decent ride is going to be what I get into once I actually do finish Dead Man's Trousers. I still got quite a bit to go with that. And I've read some of his short story compilations like The Acid House and Reheated Cabbage, which I thought were fine. They were okay. I do have Ecstasy on the shelf over here, but we're going to save that for another episode where we talk about the other adaptations of Irvine Welsh that nobody really seems to talk about. Nobody's all that interested in. But there's actually some good stuff in that other column. And there's also a lot of bad stuff too. But we're going to save that for another episode where we'll pick that up and dig in. So I think we can wrap up the show on that note. Kelby, thank you so much for coming on for the last 2 hours to talk about Trainspotting and Trainspotting 2. Why don't you just plug Agitator and anything else you have going on at the moment that you'd like to direct people to?
Oh yeah, patreon.com/agitator, uh, brokenriverbooks.com. I am in the process of getting my shit back out there. I have written 8 books and none of them are currently in print, which is a just really bad because all of my Broken River homies are glowing up and everybody's like, hey, where's Kelby's shit? And they're like, it's sold out. You can't buy it. And I'm like, that's not helping me at all. So I'm in the process of getting shit back out there. I guess in the meantime, check out the homies, brokenriverbooks.com, patreon.com/agitator. Go sign up. Uh, that's it. Thank you for having me back on here.
Absolutely. This was a real treat to talk about one of my favorite movies and get into Irvine Welsh for the first time on this show. And actually, I think we were talking about doing a show on Filth maybe a year ago, but it was just one of these episodes where we plan it, maybe we even booked a guest for it, and then one of us or both of us just forget and it disappears. And then the guest thinks, oh, they don't like me. What happened here? But that's not the case. It's just we get busy here. But anyway, that has been Movies for this week. Thank you for listening.